And a good day to you, Explore Nation. John Lynskey, your ambassador for Alumni Affairs, here with episode 19 of season 5, Looking Back with Lynskey. Very special guest today. We all stand on the shoulder of giants, and this is one of the giants on whose shoulders we rest. This man has done everything you can do to make Columbus High School a better place. The first chairman of our school board, an alumni dad, a Hall of Famer, a legend in youth sports in Miami, an insurance giant in the city of Miami, uh, an affiliated member of the Marist Brothers. He's been there, he's done it, he's seen it. It's a pleasure to welcome to the show Mr. Jim Bernhardt. Jim, thank you for being here.
Well, I wish I could live up to that. Jeez, what an introduction. I'll have to record this.
Well, every word was true, Jim. And
I appreciate it.
one of the things, we always go back to where it all began. One thing about you, Jim, that I've always admired and value is you're old school Miami. You're from Miami. So take us back to, I know you were born in Atlanta, but take us back to when you moved to Miami in the 50s and what it was like growing up then. And you're still in Miami, which is quite something.
It was quite different back then. We were really a small town compared to what it is now.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, I lived just on the other side of Lourdes, and that used to be almost like a horse country there.
Yeah.
And everybody knows where Lourdes High School is. And there used to be a horse stable, and I'd see horses riding up and down the street by Lourdes Academy.
Yeah.
Morning. It was amazing, and that's how far that has come there. The 32nd Avenue and US 1, where the Boys and Girls Clubs of Miami headquarters is, it used to be called Little Georgia. That whole area and there used to be called Little Georgia, because that's where a major part of the people who were coming from Georgia were, for some reason, were moving to. So these little knickknacks of what's happened to Miami has been amazing, and it's been interesting to watch. It's been wonderful watching it. We're an international city now compared to Little Georgia, Westchester area boys, and Miami's come a long way. It's quite different.
Yep. From Miami to Benvenidos a Miami. We have come a very long way. And it's nice to connect to someone who remembers those days, because my family has a long history here too. So, interesting fact, you're a Hall of Famer at Columbus, but you're also a Hall of Famer at Miami High. So talk about going to Miami High back in the day.
Well, Miami High, Columbus was just starting.
Yeah.
I think Columbus started in '58, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
And that's when I was in high school, and no one really kind of heard of Columbus. Miami High and was the school in the state of Florida. It's where a lot of our politicians graduated from. And we had rivalries with Carl Gables eventually, and Miami Edison and Northwestern. But at that point, we did not play we were segregated. We did not play the black schools in Miami. And that was unfortunate, because I would have loved to have had that additional competition, to tell you the truth. It would have been, I missed out. I missed out on competing with some excellent athletes. But Columbus was just something that was way west. Matter of fact, I used to hunt not too far from Columbus. Used to hunt doves on 87th Avenue, where the emergency room is now. But Miami High we used to travel at Miami High. We would travel up to Jacksonville to play football. We'd go all over the state to play football. We couldn't get people to play us because we were pretty dominant during the time. And then and it's been correlating that to what's happened to Columbus. Columbus is pretty dominant right now. So I had the fortunate to watch Miami High kind of filter down a little bit, and Columbus just booming up with Chris, the leadership of, as an athletic director, and Butch Diano helping out, and it's been fun to watch. It really has. In all honesty, it's been really fun to watch Columbus grow, and been great to be a big part of it.
What was it like to play in the Orange Bowl in those great games against Gables and Edison and things like that? I mean, 40,000 people for a high school game in the Orange Bowl. That's inconceivable today.
Well, why that was, John, was that there were no professional teams here.
Yeah.
Everything was high school. All the papers were high school. Front page. Now the high schools, it's unfortunate they get back in page 6. Back then, everything was the first 3 sections of the sports page was all high school.
Yeah.
And now that you have so much competition with the Heat and the Dolphins, and the Hurricanes were always here, and they were fun to watch.
Yeah.
But, it's quite a bit different now.
Yeah, it really is. And you went to the University of Florida and had a really, really solid football career. Now, this is pre-Gatorade up in Gainesville.
It came the next year.
Go figure, right?
Yeah.
What did you enjoy most about competing in athletics, Jim? Because it's been a common thread throughout your life. What did you learn from athletics and playing linebacker in Gainesville?
Sports teaches you to work with people. Teaches you to learn failure. It teaches you how to accept being accepted or not being accepted, to sitting on the bench. I remember that at Miami High, on the football team, there was 150 people.
Yeah.
And only 40 played. So we had 100 not playing. But they would all come out to the games, and they would sit on the sidelines. And they learned that, as you go up the sports ladder, everything kind of peters out a little bit. You are good when you're in the 6th grade, maybe the 12th grade, you're in the debate. You're doing something else because your expertise, and you learn to accept that. You learn to accept your place in life. And sports really teaches you a lot of handle yourself in life. And I think that's a big part of sports. That's why I love sports so much, and why I've taught sports so much. Interesting fact, I don't know if I can get into this right now, but we almost dropped 9th grade baseball here.
Yes. Yeah.
Brother Herb thought that it was the best thing not to have 3 teams, the JV and the varsity, and I said I got the school's permission to coach the 9th grade team one year, and we did it at the Boys and Girls Club on Kendall, and I got some of the coaches that I knew from being involved in sports all my life to play at the Boys and Girls Club. So that worked out. So that worked out. But now the 9th grade is growing strong.
Yes, we will get into your continued involvement in sports as we move on. But I've never spoken to you about this, Jim. How did you settle on insurance as a career? How did that come about?
Interesting story too. I was working with a guy named Tommy Shannon, who was a quarterback at University of Florida at the time, and he went to Curley High School.
Yeah.
And, we were working. They gave us the hardest jobs in the world. We were working for a moving company, and I developed a hernia, and so my parents couldn't afford air conditioning, so my sister could. So in order to recover from it during the summer, from the operation, I went to my sister's house because I wanted to work out 3 or 4 times a day. But I wanted to come back in and cool off. And their State Farm agent came in, And I said, how do you? I didn't know what I was going to do. I was a senior in college, and what are you going to do? The guy said, well, you can't become one. I said, why? And he said, because you don't meet any of the requirements. I said, why? And they said, well, back then you could ask a lot of things you can't ask today, John. He said, first of all, you aren't married. You are not a college graduate. You don't have business experience. And as you were talked, you don't have any money. And to get a franchise with State Farm, you've got to have money to start the franchise. You need business experience. So I told myself, well, if it's that hard, it might be pretty good. And so this is, so I sought out, finally found the manager that would accept me. And I got in with a person who used to be a principal of a high school, Alan Cross. And he was about ready to retire in a few years. And he said, come on into the office, Jim. He said, you can have a desk. And although you have your own franchise, you can still work with me. And
Okay.
you can help me out. And I won't charge you rent for 2 years.
Wow.
And I said, that works out. And so I was able to talk people into accepting me. Matter of fact, at my last year playing at the University of Florida, I was doing the preliminary stuff to start working with State Farm. 22 years old. And so it came about because someone's, and you learn this from sports. You can't do this. Well, let's try to find a way. Let's try to find a way to win. Let's try to find a way to, score a touchdown. We got to get the first guy on first base in order to score.
Mm-hmm.
And you just learn how to succeed or do the best you can to try to succeed. You might fail, but at least you're going to try.
And you're going to persevere.
And you're going to keep trying. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You spent your entire lifetime in insurance business, and it's a huge part of insurance, obviously, is customer service and ultimately helping people. And it's one thing with car insurance or whatever, but when really bad things happen, the insurance companies, they have a lot of responsibility on them. And how did you handle that kind of responsibility, Jim? Because you're talking about people's lives and futures here.
Well, you need good staff.
Okay.
Like the school needs good teachers, or it's not going to be a good school. As running any business, if you have a good staff and they're taught properly, then you're gonna succeed. You will, and I don't care what you're doing, whether you're an engineer or salesman or whatever. It's just being honest with people. That's the big thing. They don't want you stretching the truth, or they want you to be upfront with them, and it worked. Started off with one policy and ended up with 13,000. So it took a long time.
Yeah, I think it turned out okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had mentioned when you were at Miami High, you were aware of Columbus and everything else, but I've heard various versions of this story. So why don't you take us back 40 years and explain from how you remember it, of how a man named Brother Kevin came into your life when you're just trying to have a cup of coffee, and 4 decades later, here you are. So here's your chance to tell the story, Jim.
Well, I used to every now and then try to get away from the office. I went in early to the office, and I stayed till about 3:00 because what I wanted to do was coach in the afternoons. And so I would take a break and I would go get a cup of coffee. And they had a big Burger King, a huge Burger King on 27th Avenue, just off US 1. So you could go by yourself, get a cup of coffee, a hamburger. And I didn't know Brother Kevin. I really didn't. I knew him because the kids went to basketball camp at Columbus. And so I knew who he was. But everybody really knew Brother Kevin in town. He was, everybody knew Brother Kevin. But I'm sitting there reading and drinking a cup of coffee, and this shadow comes over me. I said, what the heck is this? And I had to look up. Brother Kevin. I said, Hi, Brother Kevin, how you doing? He said, fine. He said, Jim, how the heck he ended up at a Burger King, I have no clue. Why? But I found out later. He had gone downtown with a pledge card, and the guy turned him down. But he didn't want to go back to Columbus with his pledge card not filled out. So I guess he'd been stopping at the McDonald's and Burger Kings all over town. I don't know. And so he saw me and said, Jim, would you make a pledge to Columbus? And I said, geez, I want to continue reading. Sure, brother. What do you want? So I filled out probably a $25 pledge card at the time. And I said, I'll let me know and I'll send you a check. But that's the true story. But he had been turned down by someone downtown. And if he had not been turned down, he would have not walked into the Burger King, and I would have maybe not got so involved in Columbus over a period of time.
It was meant to be that way.
Yeah.
It was destiny. We were talking about perseverance in sports. Well, there's Brother Kevin persevering, and Brother Kevin's never been good about taking no for an answer. He tries to turn a no into a yes, and you became a very big yes. So you are a busy man, very involved with the Boys and Girls Club, Coral Gables, South Miami, Corey Leagues, Epiphany, all of that stuff. Why did you decide to dedicate so much time to Columbus High School? You didn't go there. Why?
They fit what I thought was needed working with kids.
Okay.
That they were trying to take a kid, not taking everyone has to be at a certain level, but take all kids.
Yeah.
Let's learn to work together. The brightest guy, the middle, can't go down too far, but I like that concept. Try to work with kids, give them some discipline, and try to make them better than when they came into Columbus. And that's what I got. That's what, I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what I got out of Columbus. I saw that and I said, this is me. I like to work with the everyday kid, try to make him a better person, and try to give him a proper environment and where to succeed. And there's been a lot of steps. We had a lot of bumps. The big thing really at one time was the athletic club. My wife ran the Block C after Kathy Plummer ran it for a while and passed it over to. We used to get a lot of advertisement off of that, and again, the Christmas trees. The only reason we could sell Christmas trees, we used to sell about 5,000 of them at the Boys Club, and so we couldn't order them. So I just brought a few trees over here. It didn't work. we blocked the traffic.
That's a good point. We were talking before we went on the air. Let's just go there for a second. We are a multi-million-dollar operation now that has fundraising down to an art form. That you got to start somewhere. So take us back to the early days, Jim, of Christmas tree sales and bingo, and how the evolution started to happen from those sort of mom and pop traditional things.
It's really an interesting story, John, because we were just fumbling, trying to make a buck. Fumbling with trying to sell advertisement, fumbling with trying to sell a Christmas tree, having bingo in the cafeteria, and those type things. We were raising a little money, but I'm going to jump way ahead now. Okay.
Okay.
I'm not going to. The big change at Columbus came with Brother Angelo, and when he was made some changes, he was left with the responsibility of creating the board.
Okay.
And he and I sat down with the Christian brothers.
Yeah. Okay.
This was in the 90s.
Yeah.
And we said, he asked me if I would come and help him create a board. And so I agreed. And so we met it for a week with the Christian brothers. And then around the same time, we went to the President Principal Philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how in the world, looking back on it, the principal ever, I don't know how Brother Kevin did it, or Brother Sheehan, or all the other brothers that ran the school. It was an impossible task. But when we went to the president principal philosophy, dividing up the principal dealing with in-house and the president dealing with the outhouse, so to speak, everybody on the outside, as we start really, the ball started rolling in the 90s. It went from Ma back in the 80s until we got into the 90s. And with a change, when Brother Herb became manager and Brother Dunn came in when Lavelle left, so many things changed around this time. It was it was, and it just kind of took off. We were have 1,100 kids at that time, scripping around to try to raise a buck, to really the board. Okay, there's a board at the Boys and Girls Club that I helped change also, but it is different than the board at Columbus.
In what way, Jim?
In Columbus, you have the board members have a heart in the program. They understand. They went to school here. I'm I guess David Plummer and I are the only two people that ever has ever been on the board that weren't graduate of the high school. But at the Boys and Girls Club, you have people that try to do good or want to make society better.
Okay.
But they don't have a heart into the Boys and Girls Club. They are there just to help Miami, help us help kids, help us the kids that need the most help. But at Columbus, the executive board, this was really fantastic, because especially one item we put on it as a prerequisite is that you could not be on the board with a student in school.
Yes. Yeah.
That takes away a lot of the pressure on the president or the principal.
Gotcha.
But the quality of people that came on the board are just, I'm not going to bring up names. It's just too many. It's just been unbelievable. But you always had a constant, and Brother Kevin, David Plummer.
Yeah.
But people will never understand all that David Plummer did for the school.
I agree with that. Yeah. Yeah.
He did millions of dollars of work for nothing.
Yes, exactly. And that is the key that you were referring to. So let me ask you this, Jim. You were the first chair of the school board. And when you come first, I mean, George Washington, whatever, you establish how things are going to be done. How seriously did you take understanding this is brand new at Columbus, and Columbus doesn't change real quickly, as you know? That was a big responsibility. And with everything else you had going on in your life, what made you decide to do that, Jim?
I saw again, I'll go back to what the school was trying to do with kids.
All right.
It needed an oomph. Okay. It needed to change. Okay. And I was willing to, I'd much rather work with kids, young men, and then to get away from all the office stuff. It's just, and I saw the alumni that were willing to be on board. It was amazing to me that were willing to dedicate their lives for nothing to help out. And it was fun watching it grow. It really was. To watch the new board come on and everybody giving of their time and expertise. I'm not going to do justice to it, but I cannot explain how important the executive board is.
Yeah. And I have learned talking to, like, for example, Adrian Alfonso. Adrian spends more time working for free at Columbus than he does, for his own business. And I think everybody in that position over the last 25 years would agree with that. And then you can't put a dollar amount on that commitment.
John, you brought up something earlier that I think because we went in, I went in with a big commitment, and Brother Angelo did, that we spent enormous amount of time creating that first board. And
Yeah.
everybody saw, okay, this is important. They're dedicating themselves to this, and you're right. It flowed. Okay, it started off. This is very important, and we need it, and we need to keep good people on it. We're not going to have any shenanigans. We're not going to have the parents have a kid in school.
Hmm.
This
Yeah.
is important. This is, and I think it's just run that way. And I think the one president see what the other president did, and it snowballs. If you had a dud, then your board's going to be a dud.
Yeah, that's very true. Jim, how much of your commitment and involvement with the board came from the experiences that Matt and Tom had at Columbus? I mean, you are an alumni dad, and both your sons are tremendous, tremendous young men. How much did their experiences at Columbus shape your decision to continue to help Columbus long after they graduated?
This is not going to sound good, okay?
Okay.
All right, but it really didn't,
Okay.
because I did it not for that reason. I made my why I started before they really got here. Matter of fact, David Plummer called me before my son ever got here, my oldest son, and asked if I would be on the board. And I agreed because I knew about Columbus. And them being here didn't change my philosophy of my thoughts on what Columbus was trying to do. And that kind of, maybe it changed a little bit because I saw what they did for my kids. So I imagine it did. It had to, I guess. But again, it's just something that working with the young adults, I just, and I had a knack for it, and I just continued.
You have mentioned young people countless times during this conversation. And you've also mentioned that almost seemingly that work was an inconvenience before you could get to what you really wanted to do in the afternoon, and that was coach. So let's talk about, you talk about being selfless, the amount you've dedicated a lifetime to the Boys and Girls Club, the Corey Leagues, to Epiphany. Why is it so important to you, Jim? It continues to be even today to work tirelessly for those organizations.
I guess because you do things if you're good at it, okay. And I was a much better coach than I was an insurance salesman. That's for sure.
I don't know, Jim. I think you sold a little insurance in your career, but okay.
And it's just something that we have our thing and that we want to do, and I'll always do it. I'll always I had to get out of coaching at some time because I when some kid came up to me and said, "How do you like my sky?" And I knew my time was getting. I had no clue what he was talking about. He was talking about his cat. I said, what are you talking about?
Oh, that's all. That's awesome.
I was losing the handshakes and the skies, and
Yeah.
but and doing things like I got a call from Carl Gables Police Station one day, and they said, "Can you go to Ponce Junior High School?" I said, "Why?" They said, "Well, there's a big rivalry between the Boys and Girls Club and Carl Gables Youth Center, and they're having and we heard about you." So I went over there, and these things have to happen to you for you to continue. That's what I'm trying to say. And I walk in the room, and there, there's the black and the white, and the Grove and the Coral Gables.
Yeah.
The policeman said, "Well, I've never heard them so quiet." So I had the respect of the kids, and that meant a lot to me. You have to have these things happen along the way. Um, it, it, we're kind of bouncing around here a little bit, but one real test though for me was when I was at the Boys Club. We used to sell a lot of trees at the Boys Club, say about 5,000 trees.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of money, and evidently somebody knew. And back then, you didn't pay by credit card; you paid by cash. And
Yeah.
we got robbed. And so I walk into the treasurer's office because I was bringing the money back from the up front to the back, and I step into the room and I got a gun pointed between my eyes, and I see all these people laying on the ground, and for some reason, I didn't. I said, okay, what do you want? Take your money and leave. But I got a call the next day. It's kind of come to a funny story now. But every check, because we make a picture of every check, they were scattered over the Grove. So the kids must have run to the Grove, the young adults. And every check was returned to us. The parents in that Grove picked up all the checks that we had because we had a copy of them, and they were returned.
That's amazing.
It really is. And also this guy called me. He was on the board there. He said, Jim, we got a little money because we got more money dedicated to us, given to us because people hearing about it than we were making on the Christmas trees. So one of the board members says, maybe we should have another robbery. They're making more money off of that.
Yeah. Let him have the gun between his eyes. Yeah. Okay. I remember those sales because you could smell the trees on US 1 as you drove by. It was quite an operation. And, but, Jim, you seem, from my perspective anyway, and I think a lot of people at Columbus, you like working behind the scenes. You like you mentioned Brother Kevin's shadow at the Burger King. You never really seek the spotlight. You just want the job to get done. And I think that is a very admirable thing. I mean, the board, I remember when the board was first created at school, people didn't really know what it was, didn't really know its function, just Jim Bernhardt was omnipresent, but never sought the spotlight. And that just seems to be the way you like to do things, Jim. As long as it gets done, it doesn't matter who gets the credit.
Who needs the spotlight is the president of school, the principal of school, the coach. Okay, they need support. Every big organization needs someone to be able to go back and talk to. Like David Plummer, we would meet all the time about how we were going to. What needed to be done. We would have to deal with Brother Kevin because Brother Kevin didn't want to spend any money. And but I would get in the way. I didn't want to be in the way. It takes up too much time to be in the limelight. Then you got to go to these functions, and everybody says how nice you are and stuff. But if you're not wasting your time, having to go to these functions, being honored all the time. It's a lot. You spend a lot more time getting things done.
That's well stated, Jim, and very true. Dealing with Brother Kevin was not always easy. You just mentioned he was not particularly a fan of spending money because he needed to make more money. This is a good story. You're in Melissa Marty's office right now, and Melissa is the brains behind this operation here. I just show up and do whatever when she tells me to. Melissa Marty wouldn't be at Columbus if it wasn't for you going to guns against Brother Kevin and the board. Explain again. You did this behind the scenes. I don't think anybody really knows this. So Tell us what you did, Jim, because this
Well,
podcast doesn't happen if you didn't do this.
well, I saw what was happening at Columbus, and we weren't getting the message out. And I
Okay.
said, "This is crazy." So I brought it up at the board, and the board followed me. And said, "No, we don't need a marketing department. No, we don't need this." And so I said, "Okay, what we're going to do, if I get permission, is that I will pay the first semester's salary of the marketing director. And if it doesn't work out, I knew it would. But if it doesn't work out, then it won't continue. But I think we need to get the word out of what Columbus is really about, and we're not doing that at this point. And so the board finally relented with that. They didn't have to spend any money to create a marketing department. And I think it's been wonderful. And Melissa's done a fantastic job.
Well, yeah, it's easy to do when it's somebody else's money, right?
Yeah. But
So
then you see the need for it.
yes.
And then it works.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier you do put your money, your time, your talents where your mouth is. The decision to coach freshman baseball, not many insurance executives are going to do that. The time you spent at Epiphany, which is a very important school to Columbus too. You clearly had your priorities and you found a way to get things done. And without those decisions, we're not where we are today. What did you enjoy about coaching at Columbus, Jim? I mean, you've coached everywhere with the youth sports. What was it like being at Columbus as a coach?
Well, just step up. The kids very responsive, and they went on to be on the varsity, and it was just it was a challenge. Okay, I kind of guess I like challenges, and I had to build a boys' club field for high school. I mean, they don't have fields for high school, so I had to go to the corner. I had to get all the markings, and I had to get the Burnsides of the world that were coaches in Miami to help out. I tell you a funny story about the about. Is it okay to tell stories?
Yeah, that's what this is. This is nothing but a story, Jim. Go ahead.
We had the baseball field, okay, and this is after my kids, and or before them. I guess it was after. No, it was during when Matt was playing basketball, not baseball.
Okay.
That if you're on the baseball field, if a lady had to go to the restroom, she had to go to the gym, which is 200 yards away. She's not going to make it. All right.
No.
I said, this is nuts.
Yeah.
So I got permission from the school. I said, I'm going to build a man and a woman's bathroom because they're doing construction over at St. Brendan's. I'm going to go ask the contractor over there if he'll build a bathroom for men and women at the third baseline, which is third baseline now, just off.
Yeah.
Sit and build a little septic tank, and that was our first talk about mom and pod stuff. The weight room.
Yeah, let's talk about Ma and Pa. We were discussing this when I was playing. The weight room was inside the old PE locker room. It was about the size of a closet, and we had universal machines. We didn't even have free weights, so that was archaic at best. Then we moved to the north side of the gym, that long building that ran the length of the north side. That was, I guess it was a step up. We had our meetings in there too. But for as good as we were not nearly up to par weight room wise. And then you stepped in and talk about that building and where we are today. You talk about, progression.
And we were going to, succeed in sports, we had to have a weight room. And you talk about the other side of the gym, that was pretty small. If that was a step up, I'd hate to see the other one. I didn't see it because this was tiny. I mean, we got weights in there. Yeah. And again, St. Brendan's is doing some construction over there. And I like one of the, I got to know them because of building bathrooms. And I said, I told the school, I said, I'll build a weight room.
Yeah.
We need a weight room for the kids
Yeah.
because in that part of the, and for them to get any better, we need a weight room. So I built this building, and it was pretty nice, and it was
Oh,
a huge step up.
at the
And,
time, Jim, it was the Taj Mahal. I mean, it really was.
and what happened is that after a while, the school became so successful. We had so many more kids. We needed a bigger weight room than what we had there. And I said, that's great. But, we're leaving out a lot of the population of the school. I
Hmm.
said,
Hmm.
let's do two weight rooms. We'll have one for the athletics, and
Yeah.
we're going to have one for the students.
Yeah.
This was a kind of a novel approach, and I was kind of fought on this. I said, well, I think it'll work. But there are some kids that won't work out because they don't want to be in there with all the jocks. And they would like to go in there and have the ability to work out. So they tore down the building that I built for the weight room, which is now the huge complex that we have over
Yeah.
there. The first part of it is for the students.
Yeah.
And I walked over one day to see. I was afraid to go over to see if they succeeded or not, but there were kids lined up.
Yeah.
And so I walk in. I said, "Why are the kids lined up?" I thought maybe they weren't letting them in. I said, "No." He said, "We have so many kids, students that want to use this that we have to give them a time that they can come in." So that worked. So now the athletics work in this really a college workout facility, and then we
Yes.
have a nice place for the students to go.
And you were spot on in that. And there's a lot of kids that just they want to get in shape, they want to do whatever, but they're going to be intimidated by 260-pound offensive linemen. So that has worked out perfectly. It's also worked out for the faculty, for that matter, Jim.
First person I saw there was Weber.
There you go.
He hadn't spent enough time on it though.
No, so Jim, that when you go from a closet inside the old PE locker room to a facility that rivals major college and university programs, that's a legacy right there. And so this is one of those questions that it might be hard to answer. So answer it in any way you see fit. Looking back over the last 40 years, what are you proudest of, or some of the things you're proudest of, Jim?
Having to turn away kids.
Mm.
We are so successful now at what we do that we're having to change our structure and who we accept. We had to be very careful with that though, because then it's going to get away from the concept of we need the everyday kid here. And that's why I came here. And that's going to be hard to do because we're turning away so many kids. So how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
But seeing that means to me that what we're doing, we're succeeding. This religious, good education, discipline is what society really wants. And we're giving it to them. And so that worked. And so that's the most important thing, I think.
Well, thank you. That's a good answer, Jim. Your affiliation with their Marist brothers, I'm not sure if you had heard of the Marist brothers really before Columbus. When I was in school, it was funny. We were Marist, but I had no idea who Marshall Champagne was. He was the guy up on the wall. That was it. So what has it been like for you to be so involved with the Marist brothers, and what do you admire most about them?
Humbleness.
Yeah.
Most humble people I've ever seen in my life. They are there for one reason, and they're there to educate. And it's that better than me. They're better than me, and you're always going to be better if you hang around with people better than you. And to dedicate themselves is why because I do other things. They're better than me, and so If you hang around people that are better than you, you're going to succeed.
Yeah, that is a very good way of putting it. And I always ask people, what does being Marist mean to Jim Bernhardt after 40 years?
I don't have a good answer for that. But to be associated with the Marist brothers has meant a lot. Um, it well, it boosts you. In other words, people think better of you because of your association with the Marist brothers in this type of school. So it probably makes people think of me in a different light than maybe I should be looked at, because I don't shine as bright as they do, but my light has been shined a little brighter than it probably should be shining because of my association with the Marist brothers.
And I think it works both ways, Jim. The importance of lay people in the era that we're in is incredibly important. And you were one of the first really, really, truly important lay people at Columbus High School. And I think it speaks volumes that the foundation you set as the chairman of the board has completely succeeded. And what do you look forward to, Jim? You're still very active. So what inspires Jim Bernhardt to keep going? I mean, you could do whatever you wanted at this stage of your life. So what keeps you going?
Well, I'm doing what I want to do. You know, I just have a kind of a niche to the boys club. We're building new boys clubs. We need more land here at Columbus.
Yeah, we do.
And we're on 28 acres, and we're doing good. We're doing good things. And how can we expand? Trying to figure out that problem. Trying to break that nut. Okay. I don't know how we're going to do it, but there's got to be a way to do it. Right now, I'm doing a lot at the boys club because of my changing the board there. We've kind of succeeded in the last 20 years also, and so we're in the financial position that we haven't been in the past, kind of like Columbus. A good story. Brother Kevin, B.B. Rebozo, who I don't know if you remember, but
yeah, of course. Yes.
Nixon's buddy up in Key Biscayne.
Yeah.
Well, I asked Brother Kevin. I said, "Brother Kevin, would you like to meet President Nixon?" And he beamed. And so I took him over to BB's house while we were having a function over there. And so BB and President Nixon and I and Brother Kevin drinking scotch in Rebozo's room. I think Brother still has a picture of that. But,
he does. He does. He's very proud of that photo. Yes. Yeah. That's
kind of a good day.
That is awesome, Jim. So, you have blazed a trail for all of us. We have a lay principal in Mr. Pugh. We have a lay president in President Kruzak, and everybody points at you as an integral part for being where we are today. And so, on behalf of everyone at Columbus, from the very top to all the way down and all the way through, thank you for your years of service, Jim. And we would not be where we're at without you.
Well, I appreciate your work, John. I enjoy it. It kept me off the streets.
There you go. On that note, Explore Nation, it's been a real pleasure speaking with Mr. Jim Bernhardt. And our next episode is going to be with the provincial of the Marist brothers, Brother Dan O'Riordan. So we're going to go from cornerstone to cornerstone on these episodes. But Jim, it's always good to see you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, John.
And we appreciate
down here. You got to come start spending more time down here.
Jim, it seems to be
here today.
Hey, but listen, you're a Georgia boy. You get it. You get it's
Yeah,
nice up here. It's
it is.
nice up
It
here.
is.
But I look forward to seeing you, Jim. And so, Explorer Nation, as always, buenos tiempos and adelante. Thank you, Jim.
Okay, thank you, John. Bye bye.